So it seems like the whole world is waking up now. Seems as if everybody is finally like, okay, so there's a lot of atrocities that a lot of global leaders as well as individuals are just getting away with. And it's time we finally fucking stand up and fight this shit. Because it's been so, like, it's been madness the last 4 years. Like, it has been fucking insane putting up with all of the shit that's actually happening and taking effect on all of us. Like, you go out, you go to these stores even, and I mean, like, they affect me personally, dude. Like, the shit that's happening, like, on a political level and, like, just, like, is economics. Like, this stuff is that it took us this long to finally start being like, okay, what are we gonna do? Like it is so it's just like wow, man. I mean, like it's hard even to like go to gas stations now just to like buy just to get some gas or even to buy something or like to buy a lottery ticket. Like it's difficult to do all that because we have so many foreigners in here that speak an entirely different language. It's you can't communicate. You've probably experienced it through an emotional lens, but I mean, literally like verbal, like just like trying to understand them, it is like they're speaking fucking Rick and Morty alien gibberish. Like that's literally how they strike me. It is it's bad out here. And I mean, I remember back when I could go to the store, buy a 12 can thing of pops for $5.12 and then go to school and sell each of it for $1 and make profit. I go there now, and those pops are literally $10 a box. It is it's wild thinking that like, whoa, I'm really getting old. Like not just that, but like the economy is literally just we're going down, man. Like it really is going to be an insane next 5 years, and I honestly do recommend that if we don't see any kind of change, then yes, I would definitely strongly recommend moving from the US. Because who knows what these people are about? I mean, like you look at the political system, you look at the economics. Most of it is they're doing it to sell drugs to make profit off of that, to dope up all the people so that they're all fucked up. They mess with the food, they mess with the water, they mess with the kids. And I mean, like how the fuck is anybody gonna want to work for that? Like there's two sides to this. Cause it's like there's the system side and then there's the people side. And the people don't want to give into the system because the system is corrupted and full of shit. But the system is necessary because it provides all the ultimate good for everyone. So we're kind of like at a real international crisis, like an international dilemma, and we've been here for a long ass time. But because there's not enough people talking about this or saying anything about it, everybody is suffering the consequences. And before I die, if I ever die, or well, I mean, I will die one day. I want people to know that I was on the right fucking side. Like, hey, look, dude, this is, and let me get into my side about this, my personal opinion on this whole debacle against the people versus the system. Because honestly, the system needs to be refined and simplified. Because if it was refined and then simplified, people would be able to go their lives in a more easier way. Like obviously you give them a purpose with a job to get up, go out and interact with other people, but to also make it so that they also have time to spend with their families. And if we have $32 trillion dollars just at our disposal, then why can't things be cheaper? And then inflation. And then that's how inflation works in case you didn't know that. I mean, I didn't. I really didn't. But seriously, it's like really. I mean, if life, I mean, all of life, like really seriously, think outside of the box with me for a minute. That if you were not obligated to society, you were not obligated to the country, you were not even obligated to a family, you're not even obligated to the world. To think outside the box and just imagine the better world that we could be living in right now if you actually started to give a fuck about all of those things. Because that's what compassion is. It's to give a fuck knowing that there is no benefit other than my desired goals. even if these goals do not benefit myself. So long as they benefit others, that is more than enough to make me happy. So for a minute, seriously, jump outside of the box with me for a second. Don't think in terms of culture. Don't think in terms of environment. Think in terms of your own human psyche and your imagination and just, who you are as a person. Because I feel like a lot of people don't know themselves. We know it. People are literally just out here talking about how they hate themselves, essentially. They won't outright directly come at you like that, but it's all like in an indirect way. Like, there are signs that people will deliberately and delusionally ignore if it means getting what they want. And that is how ego works. Like, you can ego has like a multitude of modalities and ways in which it can work like on the world and how it affects other people. There's the sad ego, and then there's the prideful ego. You can sit there and not, choose to make the horrible decision even out of sadness, even out of depression. You can have an ego through your feelings to have a reason to just say, oh, well, I don't need people, and then sit there and be depressed because you don't have anyone. Literally, I know people who are like that, you know and it's just it's so crazy, dude, how many people are out here and just where we're at, like, as a society. Like, I mean, this is not a stable place to raise children. Like, this is why men and women can't even get together, because I mean, it's too expensive to have a fucking relationship, and to trust somebody out here with how culture actively promotes hedonistic behavior. Like, it's abusively hedonistic out here when it comes to big time corporations as well as culture and just people as a whole. Like, they literally have to, like, they have no sense of they don't have like a higher pursuit of happiness beyond that, other than, busting. That is literally their whole life goal. And then maybe I'll have kids, so that they can also be slaves to the government. Like, yeah, you're really doing your part, but you don't even see it that way. You just see it as raising kids. But I mean, these kids can easily be taken away from you, and you wouldn't even know, because that's the system that you could literally end up living in. I don't know if you guys ever have read about the George Orwell 1984, and how it dives back into when or it didn't, it wasn't like, well, it was probably a real time, but this is like a more imaginative way. It literally talks about a dystopian society where people are suppressing each other of their words and of their freedom of thought and, their freedom of character. Like, you can't be emotional. Like, you have to act a specific way to fit in. And because, of cancel culture and the LGBTQ, it's literally becoming a fucking prophecy. And I mean, it's been that way like since whenever the fuck they started yapping their mouths about this shit, and everybody was, of course, drawn into it, because it was like, well, at the end of the day, you still had that argument that, well, you're still human, you're with us, all right, regardless of your flaws and your deficiencies, you were still loved, and everybody was with that except for them, because they were the ones who were still killing themselves, and they hated everything about themselves, because it's like, well, it's a little excessive for personal validation, but everybody else is going to accept you except for yourself. And sometimes, even if everybody else loves you, if you can't see the real potential within you, that value, you die. I don't know how many people that were super funny and they were just all good and happy and hilarious, and they just showed a real good time whenever they came in, and they brought everybody's spirits up, and then they killed themselves. Personal value exists, and you need to find it. It is something, it's literally a personal journey.